Hello, and welcome to Decoding Risk, where we give you expert insights on trending topics in the insurance industry. I'm your host, Edward Pronley, one of the marketing content managers here at Fusable, and today we're talking about the FMCSA's new Crash Preventability Determination Program, something that's been long requested in the motor carrier industry, a way to fairly evaluate crashes and finally separate ones that weren't the driver's fault. Joining us for today's episode is Pam Jones, the Director of Strategic Accounts for our Risk Division here at Fusable. Welcome, Pam.
Thanks, Edward. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about this important topic.
Absolutely. We appreciate having you. Before we get started, you have not been a guest on this podcast before, so would you mind giving our audience a bit of your background and history in the motor carrier/insurance space?
No problem at all, Edward. So I started my career working for a motor carrier, and I had no experience in the transportation industry other than having a wonderful family friend who was a truck driver. So I knew a little bit, but nothing that I needed to know. So I was given the regulation book and said, here, figure it out. I worked with that fleet for a while and went through some very interesting experiences because we went from 11 different DOT numbers at one point down to one. So through the many different acquisitions we had, it was a great learning experience for me. And then I went to work for another fleet who had not done well in a DOT audit. So I helped them get through that restructuring experience. And then from there, I went to work for an insurance broker in the transportation space. So that was a fun experience because while I was based locally in the Wisconsin area, I was able to expand a little bit regionally. But then as my career progressed, I got to work with fleets across the country in different consulting roles that I'd been with. Again, moving into another insurance broker. And then most recently, just spending 2 years here at Cab by Fusable, where I get to work with not just motor carriers and freight brokers, but also insurance agents, brokers, and our, of course, insurance clients. So it's been a well-rounded career. I've been able to learn from the trade associations. Some of the best experience I got was told to, hey, you know what? Wisconsin Motor Carriers is there for you, and you need to start participating. So I've done that ever since I started my career.
Well, it sounds like you're probably going to have a lot of really good information for us today, and let's dive into it. So, what exactly is the Crash Preventability Determination Program, and how does it work?
This is a great program, in my opinion. So CPDP, short for, as you said, Crash Preventability Determination Program, is an initiative that, from an industry standpoint, we asked for years and years. We said, hey, these crashes, our drivers aren't at fault. We need some consideration for that. And when the auditors came in and did the audit, they would give us some consideration for that. However, when the scoring system came out, CSA, the fleets were not being given credit for their drivers not being at fault. Originally the agency just said a crash is a crash is a crash. So finally the industry convinced them that, hey, let's make this available. Let's put in a process that allows the motor carrier with the correct evidence to be able to say, hey, please consider this and account for those drivers who were not at fault. They just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. So we were very successful in getting this initiated. I would love for more fleets to get involved. The data that FMCSA has on their site shows just shy of 12,000 motor carriers are utilizing the program. And even when we look at our cab reports that utilize the CSA information, you see that not as many fleets are utilizing the information as I feel like they should. It's a great opportunity, and we just need to get the word out there.
So, how can motor carriers use it? How can they get more involved with this?
So the system is available there for anyone. And what you need to look at is when you have a crash, if your driver was not at fault, not every not at fault crash is eligible, but there is a list of 21 currently different crashes that are eligible to be considered. So with the correct, with the police report, if there was a fatality involved, the requester would include the drug and alcohol test results, video evidence, any kind of evidence that you have can be submitted for this request, which is done through the data queue system that the fleets are very used to utilizing, hopefully. But what it does is you submit the information, someone from the federal government or one of their representatives on the state side is going to evaluate that information, and then they will come back and say, they may ask additional questions, or they may say yes or no based on that, yes, no, or undecided. But what it does, Edward, is it allows that crash, well, it's still going to show up on the carrier's government scoring system, CSA, it's going to not be counted in the math for their crash basic. So it'll still show up on the top, but it's not going to be included when they calculate the scores for that individual category.
And that's, I'm assuming, is going to really benefit their insurability. Is that correct?
Definitely, it's gonna allow the insurance company to be able to see, hey, yes, they have these crashes, but oh, look, we need to dig deeper because the driver was not at fault. So, from an agent and broker standpoint, this is something that they can help out their motor carrier clients be able to tell their story better to the insurance company. But in turn, it's also going to help the motor carrier so that when they're looking to get a new shipper, they would be able to have the shipper would be able to see that information as well because it's going to be out there as government information.
That's great. So let's talk a bit more about the insurance professionals. Why can this matter to them?
So the insurance professionals, they're digging through. When we talk about the underwriters, they have information coming at them all day long, fleets after fleets that they need to evaluate. And if we're able to show that, hey, wait, not all of the entries on here are the motor carrier's fault, that better they're going to be able to bigger picture look at that individual fleet. So the nice thing is that while the federal government puts it out on their site, cab being heavily involved in the insurance and motor carrier exposure world, we bring that into our platform as well. So underneath our accident details, we are pulling in if that non-preventable, preventable, or undecided result has been affiliated with a crash entry.
So not only, I'm assuming, can they more accurately evaluate fleets, as kind of, you were saying, but do you think this might also benefit, like client satisfaction for the insurance professionals? Do you think that they'll be able to better advocate for them in some way with this?
100%. Thank you. You read my mind there, Edward. Yes, the brokers and agents utilizing this program, and even the loss control reps that might work for the insurance companies, by bringing this to their client base, they're able to, number one, help them look better from a government standpoint. But number two, as you said, bring that value add so that they're the experts helping the motor carrier learn something new in the industry so that that is in turn 100% helping them from a better exposure evaluation by the underwriters. And not only the underwriters and, as I said, the shippers, but let's remember that the attorneys out there who are handling claims look at the government data as well. So it's more than just their insurability.
You had mentioned there were 21 categories within this program. What are kind of the top ones that we see people, making the most use out of?
Great question. Rear ends, 100% is at the top of the list. And then it's followed by hit in the rear on the side. And yes, it's very specific, rear end versus rear on the side. And then the third category that tops the list is the commercial motor vehicle is hit by a vehicle that failed to stop at a traffic control device.
So these are all a part of those 21 categories, and these are categories that drivers can take advantage of. They can say, "Hey, I was just recently rear-ended. I can submit this to the program and hopefully lessen that ding on my safety score."
Yep, and while drivers do have the ability to submit it, generally it's going to be the safety professional at the motor carrier and or if they have a consultant that works with them and or if their insurance professional is working with them. Any one of them have the ability to get this submitted.
So it sounds like motor carriers, shippers, and insurance professionals all get huge benefits from this. How can insurance professionals and shippers specifically, how can they make use of this data through our CAB platform?
On our cab platform, we have, especially on the insurance version, the cab report has an out of service tab. And within that out of service tab, we also give you a list of crashes for the last 3 years. And what we've done is populated in that result, if there is one from that CPDP that ends up on the CSA record. So it would be right there in that listing under crash determination if one has been associated with one of those entries.
So along with all the safety history and the current safety scores, everything they can get within our CAB platform, they can also see any listed non-preventable crashes.
Yes, sir.
Sounds great. So, how can people learn more about this program?
FMCSA did a really good job on this program. So they have a website specific to the cross preventability determination program. And a quick internet search on FMCSA CPDP is an easy way to get to that. You can definitely go directly through the FMCSA site as well. But it's a lot of letters. So FMCSA CPDP is a good search. But once you get there, the agency did a great job. For example, they have a nice little graphic that just shows the simplified 4-step process, but they also have an eligibility guide. And the nice thing about that eligibility guide, it's broken up between the 2021 criteria option that is in place today and has been since December 1st, but the previous criteria that was in place for when we had 16 criteria. So motor carriers still have the option to submit any crash prior to December 1st of 2024, but it falls under a different criteria. So for example, today they have the ability to submit a video just as one standalone reason why the crash might be eligible for non-preventability. But back in prior to January 1st of 2024, that video was going to be supportive of one of the other 16 categories. So it's really important to make sure that you understand which criteria you're looking at and what date range you're looking at. But that website from FMCSA also gives a submitter's guide. It gives you some FAQs. So a nice way for you really to understand the program better. And I believe there's also then a link that gets the user to the data queues site, which stands for data quality. And that's another program through FMCSA that allows the industry to be able to say, hey, wait, my data needs to be evaluated.
Well, we'll definitely link to at least some of those resources, if not all of them, in the description underneath our episode here. It sounds like this is an incredibly powerful tool that the industry has been asking for, and now it exists. So we hope that motor carriers and insurance professionals can all make use of the data and the program itself. Thank you so much, Pam, for joining us today. Is there any final takeaways or anything else that we need to make people aware of before we wrap up?
Just stay safe out on the road so everybody makes it home from every trip.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And be sure to catch our next episode of Decoding Risk coming next month.